And welcome everybody, Don Giannetti, Lighting Essentials and Project 52 Pros. I'm going to take you through just a few images today from the best from last week here on Project 52 and Lighting Essentials. And talk just a little bit about lighting and how important lighting is to make these shots work so well. First up is Ann Stevenson with a assignment from Project 52, which was a writing assignment. In other words, it was a writing pen, some sort of image to indicate a writer, a desk, an implement, a tool, something to let us know a little bit about a writer's life. The writer was described as a fiction writer, wrote mysteries, and the newest book that was coming out was titled The Second Time You Die. It's kind of a art noir type of approach to novel type mystery novels and things. And Anne took a beautiful shot here. She's got a couple of softbox behind a scrim here, and then the scrim is placed behind this old muslin material here with the the large weave to it, and that warms the picture up quite a bit. Soft light everywhere from the back, and I think it's very important to notice that this light is coming from the back with forward thrown shadows. This gives us dimension, shape. The top of the book lights up beautifully, the top of the skull lights up beautifully, and then she took a grid spot and brought it in from the left side, so we see a very small shadow going this way, and we see these shadows going to the right side of the letter here, while these shadows up front are going forward. And what that does, it just creates a little bit of tension in the eye. We see it, we may not be aware of it, but we know something's happening here, and it gives it a dimensional feeling, almost as though this writing paper and pen were just removed a little bit from the background. Beautiful shot by Ann Stevenson. Chad took a photograph of some very simple mushrooms. Very, very simple, but we've got great lighting from behind. Look at this. This light comes from back here. It gives us all this texture on the wood, on the little items next to the wood. Everything is nice and sharp. And Chad chose this mushroom, I think obviously. We know why. It's dead center. It's the mushroom in front of all the other ones. Chose this mushroom to make the hero, and kept that mushroom in focus from up front to the back edge. This mushroom's in focus. There's also a little kicker light from back over here, and you can see the kicker light being picked up a little bit in the wood here, but most definitely in the bottom of the mushroom and below the mushroom here. Get a little bit of kicker light on these other mushrooms. Well, this is really nice in here. This is just really beautiful, the way the light, the highlight comes in, gets darker, and then we pick up the bounce card. I just think it's lovely. And overall, just a super nice shot. Bob Nill is using backlight from a small reflector coming in on these lines here and giving us a nice hot light right on the top. He wanted a really dramatic feeling. We can see the fill card to the left if we look into this lime, and this lime right here, we can see it working its job over here, which is to give it a little dimension up front and also to open up that shadow just a little bit. This shadow is far more open, by the way, if you notice, than that shadow, and this shadow is on the other side of the fill card. It's not being filled like this side is. You can actually see it gradient. It's gradient right in here. It's got the lighter on this side and it gets a little bit darker. Okay, that's that fill card from this side. But the backlight does something very remarkable. Backlight will always pull the subject off the background if you do it right, and it gives it more dimension. We've got beautiful highlights in the limes here and on top of the limes, and we see the texture and everything. This is lost if you front light. Often it's very, very lost if you front light. And I'm not going to tell you that you should never front light. I'm just going to say that there's some times if your front light, if your light is from 90 degrees or less in front. 90 degrees is side light, okay? So if you're at a little less than that, and your light's at 60 degrees, for instance, coming from over here, ask yourself if that's really doing what you want it to do. And if it is, great. There's lots of great photographs made with front light and great photographs made with front light. It happens all the time. It's just not a rule of thumb. So just be very aware of it. So Fong took a couple of bananas, put them down in a crate, and using soft light coming through the slats of the banana box over here, she created this gorgeous still life of the bananas on the bottom of the box, the container, and did really a great job. We see the lights and darks of the breaks in the wood over here, and yet the bananas being a different kind of surface, the bananas are being kind of lit because they're diffused all the way through here. And it just gives a nice dimension. Notice how far to the side the light is. It's throwing the shadow from these stems on the bananas all the way over here. It's really picking up texture, shape, dimension, and color as well. We really get to see a lot of the color because the light is on the true value of the banana. We're not getting a giant highlight, which is generally white or very close shade to white, and then we get the shadow side. In this case, the shadow side and the highlight side are all very close, so we get the true value of the banana. James Curran took two shots. He did one straight down and he did one from the side. The straight down one is a very nice shot, but it doesn't have an emotional appeal to it as much as this side shot has an emotional appeal because it pulls us into the salad. We're into it instead of sort of away looking down on it. And I'll show you something. I'll show you a lovely picture in just a second of a photographer who shot down on it and doesn't have the same emotion or emotional attraction, but it creates a lovely photograph either way. So there's really no right or wrong way to do it, folks. There's just your way to do it. The salad in here looks really lovely because the great backlight is picking up the top of the bread, the top of the artichokes, all of the items in here. Notice that the garlic or whatever these guys here are a little bit less diffuse subject than the tomatoes, which are very smooth and very shiny, made even more shiny by wetting them down. So you can take a moderately efficient surface and make it very efficient by putting water on it. Water becomes a liquid agent, and a liquefying agent makes the surface very shiny. Now here's the shot by Lavanya Reddy that I was telling you about, shot straight down. A lot of food is shot straight down. Sometimes it has emotion to it. Most of the time I don't think it really pulls me in emotionally because it I love it because it's design. It's all design, and Lavanya's photograph here is all design. She's very carefully chosen her board, her background, where she's placed all the tomatoes and the leaves to create a pleasing composition that just sort of keeps repeating on itself here. It's really nicely done, Lavanya. And our last shot's by Tracy Sutherland. Now this is it's either a straight down or a straight across at. Who knows? I don't know, because we don't have any idea at all of the dimension of this this radish or its point of view. Context is gone. The context has been removed to this black background. Black removes all context. White removes most context, but the white will give you shadows, so you get a little dimension on white. On pure black like this, we don't have shadows. We have the dark side of the radish, etc., but we don't have a shadow on the background or off the background, for that matter, to give us depth. So it's a very cool shot. In many ways it reminds me of a painting. Tracy has lit it from this side, but she has a very small fill light on this side, just opening up these leaves. It's a very shiny white card, a shiny silver card, and it's angled just to pick up a little bit of this main light and kick it back into these leaves. We can see little highlights on the leaves here. If these leaves had gone pure black over here, or we'd lost all these radishes in here and the stems, I think it would be a much different photograph. I don't think it would be as successful, actually. I think this is a very successful photograph. It's done very well by Tracy Sutherland. All right, well, that's the shots that we had to look at. I hope that you think a little bit about lighting. Backlighting, side lighting gives you dimension, it gives you texture, it gives you shape, it gives you color. It's just a great way to think of it. So, I mean, you know, I'm not a believer in rules. I don't think that rules make photography, but there's a rule of thumb for me, and that is to use that arc of beauty, which is 90 degrees to the side, all the way back, and 90 degrees to the side. Anytime you come in front of that 90-degree angle, pure side light, anytime you come forward towards the camera, you're in a precarious place. So, you know, double check it. Not that it's wrong, because I don't want you thinking that it's wrong. I just want you to double check it and make sure that it's giving you what you want. All right, everybody, have a great day. We'll see you next week with the best of lighting essentials.